Hi all, welcome to the Marquee Matchup for Halloween, which is the 31st of October. So hopefully you find this useful. As always guys, we have 20 routes to cover, and there is a number of other games that are included which I will go over in the video guys. So if you smash the likes, be awesome, sub to the channel if you're new from your Twitter, user legend, all the links down below for plus channel and social media links as always. And we nailed 3 out of the 4 guys. We should have maybe seen the Sevilla game coming potentially as a curveball, but in all honesty, not really. Still, plenty to cover as I said this week guys. So first route is the first route I really fancy this week, which is Dortmund versus Bayern, which is the big 2 in Germany. Dortmund's kind of having a bit of a moment in the league as it were just now. They had the Leipzig game that they lost and then drew last week, and then obviously hopefully get back and winning terms with the Bayern game, but time will tell. 79 rated squad I would say is most likely, and then a couple of players from Dortmund and Bayern respectively. Handful of nations, handful of rares. They may also focus just heavily on the league, which could be a full Bundesliga. I had to think there for it, my brain just went blank. But 7 out of 10, maybe 7 to 10k for cost. Won't be too expensive if you've got everything already, and there is no other alternative I've seen. Feyenoord in Den Haag, it's kind of a game that's deemed important in Holland, but due to Feyenoord and Ajax being recently featured, I don't fancy this. But I've still got to feature it though for video purposes guys, because if we don't cover routes then you guys might see it in the comments why have you not covered this game. But 4 out of 10 for a likelihood, and 73 rating probably is what you'd need, but I highly doubt this will crop up. There's bigger games in the Marquee Matchups this week and in Holland in general, but still it's a pity. It would have been fun if that hadn't featured. Lyon versus St Etienne is the second show that I quite fancy this week, mainly because of it's a relatively big derby in France. They've had notable shouts already like Marseille PSG, which is like one of the biggest in France, but Lyon and St Etienne is a big derby, not completely big because St Etienne and Nantes is more recognised of the bigger ones, but still a respectable derby nonetheless. 78 rated squad I'd imagine is probably what you need, and a couple from both teams, but should be fairly straightforward to build. But as I said, 6 out of 10 for likelihood. Do I fancy it as a whole? Not 100%. I would say there is still stronger options, but they do like the French league. Then from here we're going over to which has 2 strong options in the league this week, which is Man City Arsenal or Chelsea Man United. Both options I would fancy quite highly. 7 out of 10 for both, to be honest. I would say I feel we're going to get an EPL route either way this week. I'm being cautious and going a 79 rated squad, but I do think they could easily put it to an 80 rated squad if they wanted to make it a bit more expensive, and if they were to give you a screen pack then that would be kind of the logic. So as I say, 2 players from the team. This could be an 11 EPL players route and a handful of rares, handful of nations. 90 to 100k, 8 to 12k for probably cost, but as I say, the EPL, I think they're going to go on option this week. I get that sinking feeling in me. We've not had it for a few weeks. This could be the week that they're holding it for. And from here we've got an option in Switzerland, which is now no longer probably likely to happen because we've just had Zurich and Basel this week. But we've got to cover this option between Young Boys and Basel, because it is recognised as a derby in the league. But for me, it's a 4 out of 10 likelihood of happening. It is that low now. It was probably a little bit higher. It would have been that 5 or 6 out of 10 bracket if it had a chance. But still, 70 rated squad, 70 to 73 rated squad, you'd have to build a couple players from the teams and a handful of nations and rares, but pity. Then from here, Greeks, the same scenario. AEK Athens and PAOK. Not going to happen because obviously the derby of the eternal enemies is the biggest game in the league. But as I said, this game would have had a higher likelihood if the game didn't feature earlier, but still, nonetheless, got to be prepared with your options. Couple players from the teams, handful of rares, nations, even the league. Just covered enough from the league just gives you enough of a safety net. As I said, 4 out of 10 for likelihood now compared to the 5 or 6 it would have been previously. It's joys of Marquee Matchups. Then Middlesbrough Sunderland has a decent shout, 6 out of 10 really for likelihood. North East derby between both teams who got relegated from the Premier League, and if it had been EFL, I don't fancy it because we've just had Ipswich and Norwich, but you still got to cover it because they could easily throw a curveball in. But there's plenty lesser derbies this week that I would say have a better shout than this one. The biggest stumbling block for this kind of one would be your overall how low would they put it to make it affordable, but also make it where it's expensive. Italy has quite a few options where you've got Genoa versus Sampdoria, or you could also look at Fiorentina versus Roma, which is like a city derby. But Genoa versus Sampdoria is the oldest derby in Italy, if you did not know that, and has probably a very good shout. I would say it's a 7 out of 10 shout in my personal opinion. I would say if it's one of the oldest derbies in Italy, and even in the world if you want to call it that way as well, it has a shout. Smart Sampdoria options could be like Viviano because he's high enough rate, he's cheap at 82 rated and he's not too expensive either. Plenty others in Sampdoria you can kind of consider, like Torreira. My brain had to think for a second there, but as I said, go a couple players from the team, and I would build the league as by safety net, and that's what I would build. 78, 79 rated squad should be more of an ample to build this particular route, and you're sorted really. Rangers Partick don't really fancy it, despite being between two Glasgow teams. It would be either Hibs and Hearts or Celtic and Rangers is what they really want to hold out for. They had the chance with Hibs and Hearts this week, they didn't do it, the hype built up, profits made galore for folk hopefully. Still nonetheless, 70 rated squad, 4 out of 10 for likelihood. I don't fancy it, but we've still got to feature it for video purposes guys. A couple of players from this, they could easily put brick slots in as well because that seems to be their favourite thing just now. Rangers Partick players worth buying, not many really. Booth for Partick if you can nab them. Over at Belgium you've got Anderlecht and Club Brugge. Big game in Belgium to be honest, and we've not had the Pro League yet if I remember right, so this could be your route that finally crops up. It's a 6 pushing towards a 7 out of 10 for likelihood, and I would say it has a good shout. Personally I would try and buy all the goals, that's my honest opinion guys. Look at Vanaken, Beric, Trebel, Ochoa, Van Dam, Denswell, Hani, Teodorczyk, Henry, Kiru, or how you pronounce his name. These kind of players, just buy all the golds and then try and buy a mix of silvers. In Copenhagen versus Brøndby, there is several other derbies in Denmark as well, just to forewarn as well. You've got Lyngby's derby, and then you have the other one, it's another Jutland derby, which is kind of crazy. They always seem to do this, they always do about 3 derbies and 3 or 4 derbies in the 1 week. I don't know why they do this, it seems to be a trend that they do in Denmark. But for Copenhagen, Zika, I think a lot of people will be buying in bulk if they expect a ratings requirement, and he's also the only gold in the league. But for me personally, it has a strong shout, 6, push towards a 7 as well, and it featured last year, so that's why as a shout. Argentina with Walker Juniors and River Plate, this is another 7 out of 10 shout for me. I fancy this more over Copenhagen, because I feel they could make this an expensive route, because people would probably want to be buying all the golds in the league. So like Andujar, Moretti, Perez, all the Perez's I should say, Martinez, Sand, Bora, Sandro Lopez, Benevento, Fabra, Casco, all these kind of players, Ambro, Brietta. Nabbing them all up guys, get at least 3 to kind of cover your requirements. Mexico's Guadalajara and Atlas I don't quite fancy, because I think it was the Super Copa game, the biggest game in Mexico was a couple of weeks ago, and they passed on it, so I don't think this would happen, but it's still a big derby for what I understand in Mexico. Spawn options, same as like Argentina, buy up the golds and then buy a handful of silvers and bronzes just to cover your base as well, especially if you can buy them cheap, and buy up the rares as well, like Ruidaz, Mora, Quinones, Aquino, these kind of players. and you're sorted really. From here you've got Novara and Pro Vercelli, which is, for me, could be the sneaky option of the week, guys. This is the Derby di Riscali or something. I can't remember what it's fully called, I might have nailed it wrong. This one for me, look at Bardi, look at Brienza, look at the Castadel and Rajkovic. I think that's just the number of the goals in the league. Buy up them, you're sorted, and look between Pro Vercelli and Novara to buy up who you need, and you'd kind of you'd probably get a good team. As long as it's 70 or 80, you're sorted, guys. It's 6 out of 10 for likelihood. Also, it might be a league bought in bulk. This route, a lot of people fancy. I don't know why. It seems to be the Polish route everyone's investing in this week, which is Arka Gdansk versus Lechia Gdansk. I don't see it personally. I see it as a 4 out of 10 for likelihood, but Pazdan's like the only goal in the league, so you want to nab him to get the overall covered. But then look at guys like Krasic, and then look between the two teams. The guy up top is a Spanish striker. If a nations option came up, he is quite handy, so be fully aware of that, but also buy a handful amount of Polish players as well to cover that option. Back to Russia, guys. We always seem to get either a Moscow derby or Moscow versus the Zenit derby, and I can't see us getting this one. I honestly, they seem to just don't like the Russian league. Lokomotiv CSK, 4 out of 10. I had the chance a few weeks back when the League SBC dropped. 4 out of 10, as I said. A couple of players, buy the league up, 77 rated squad, and it'd be smart to do it because people could rinse the league a bit more, but they'd maybe do a minimum of the Russian league players. Smart options for Lokomotiv could be like Eder, for example. This is the J League Cup final between not Gamba Osaka, Cerezo Osaka and Kawasaki Frontale. My personal recommendation is look at Podolski, Kiyotaki, because they're a couple of goals in the league, and then you just want to kind of stock up on a handful of Japanese. And I would also look at nations like the Brazilian guys. There's quite a lot of them, and even some of the Swedish and Slovenian guys that you can find there. There's quite a few to work with. As I said, I've got at least 3 nations here, and it just kind of covers all bases. J League would be quite clever for them to do it. And the final route of the week, guys, this had a good shout to happen if we didn't get Sevilla versus Leganes just suddenly thrown upon us. This is the lesser of the Basque derbies in Real Sociedad and Eibar, but still important in the region nonetheless. For me personally, a couple of players from both teams. You buy the league, you buy a handful of the rares, a handful of nations, and you'd be kind of sorted. Charles is probably your good go-to player if this was to crop up, but I highly doubt it. But still, we can only wish that this would have been the option that could have cropped up for this week from Spain, which is a bit of a bummer really. I know a lot of people are thinking Sevilla versus Barcelona for next week, but I can't see it happening nonetheless. But as I said, guys, my 4, as I've said, I fancy are the EFL game, Dortmund Bayern, River Plate Boca Juniors, and then between like Novara, Copenhagen, and you'd be sorted from there, guys. So let me know in the comments down below what you fancy as your 4 this week. Smash the likes as always, sub to the channel if you're new, follow me on Twitter at GZLegend. Hope you enjoyed this, guys. Take it easy, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all later.